that is a bit old to be starting.
Oh, it is, I know. By that time, usually you've given up the idea. You've usually given up motorbikes and everything by the age of 22. You know, or at least you have to. I can remember kind of what it's like at that age, and the idea of picking up a guitar to do anything serious wasn't an option. So when I was first in a band, it was in you could say a real band. It was 1980, 81 actually. It was impossible because the music that I enjoyed so much was really ignored by everybody at that point. Isn't it? So London, you know, they get bored with everything. They've been there, done that. They've seen it all. London, obviously, so much of it came from London or from England in the 60s and the 70s. The playing in pubs, playing this kind of music in pubs was a waste of time. Well, I couldn't do that. I couldn't do the whole covers thing and playing what people expect to hear. But what's the point in that? I might as well go and do some gardening for somebody. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
That's not my fun in music. Also, performing's not where my fun is either. It's the music itself.
You know, I hear that a lot from many musicians, and I would dare say mostly the prog musicians, that it's in the creative process and the recording and the mixing and etc. More than the public performances.
Often is the case. I mean, I've seen there's a lot of interviews around these days of bands that we all know so well from the day, from the early 70s, late 60s, and then when they talk about it, they do often say they didn't really think about the audience. That wasn't the point. They were doing exactly what they wanted. They were very lucky to do anything they liked.
Yeah.
And if people liked it, then that was that, you know. And they didn't dress up. They didn't do anything to make themselves interesting, except the music. It was purely about music. And I guess I've come from that. I like that. I'm not a performer. I'm not a show off, if you like.
Well, speaking of your early band years, you began with Odin, and then Bunch of Keys.
Bunch of keys.
Bunch of keys.
Oh,
bunch of keys, like on a keyboard. Got it.
It's always been a thing. Since Bunch of Keys, it's always been in jokes all over the place. You see it throughout every band I'm in now.
Okay.
A Bunch of Keys, effectively, by that time in the 80s, playing more than 3 chords was already a no-no.
Okay.
Being over 20 was another no-no. We were basically, it was a waste of time what we were doing. Bunch of Keys was a joke because I think the first track that I put together in Bunch of Keys was about 3 minutes long, and it was kind of strange. Every time you thought you knew where you were, it went on to something else, and all in the space of actually 2 minutes long, I think, this track. And we said, let's call it Bunch of Keys.
That's funny.
Bunch of Keys.
Okay.
And the band ended up being called that, so.
And that's how it came about.
It was just a joke about the times. It was fabulous actually because we did do Odin. It was the first time I had that experience of really doing some gigs, and we all lived in London, so of course as you had to be, and we were getting all the gigs we could, and we were playing little pubs, and we slowly moved up the scale a bit, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard work. You go to work and you get home, you have to empty your car and put all the PA in and stuff, you know.
Yeah.
To some other bit of London somewhere and set up and do a gig and then drive home again and so on and so on. The real world, you know. Great fun. And after about 2 or 3 years, you start thinking, well, is this going anywhere?
Right.
And all the normal problems happen. Some of the band wanted to be more, we say progressive if you like, and some wanted to be more commercial.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, there was that kind of different ideas. You get that with any band, you always will. And then, of course, somebody would do all the work and somebody else would never be ready on time or forget his drumsticks or, you know, the normal things that eventually drag a band down until they get fed up. You know,
that seems to be a common thing with drummers, forgetting their drumsticks. You're not the first person I've heard say that.
We were shocked when it actually happened, and we thought, is that even possible? We bought the PA, he bought nothing except his drums.
Yeah.
He did his sticks. How can you? This was
yeah.
Yeah, and it's. I mean, you know, you got a singer who turns up with his microphone, and you got somebody else who turns up with a ton of PA and gets there early in order to set up. You know, the singer just wanders in late with his microphone. big thanks, you know, you could have...
With a review I read of Cornerstone, they compared you personally and your personal craftsmanship was said to be reminiscent of Jeff Beck, Todd Rundgren, Frank Zappa, Eddie Van Halen, Joe Satriani, Stevie Vai. Did you write this yourself? Arjen Lucassen, Molly Hatchet, I mean, Steve Hackett, Carlos Santana. You've been compared to pretty much the cream of the crop. First of all, as a musician, how does that feel to be in that same lineup?
It's not. The reality is, I can't play like any of them, and never will. but I think it's more about a sound and an approach. Okay. The thing about most of these well-known people, well-known musicians, is they don't just play, fast or the best or something. It's not about that. Yeah. Usually, Jeff Beck. You know what Jeff Beck. You hear one or two notes, and you know it's Jeff Beck.
Right.
Unless someone's trying to copy him, you know. And it's the same with so many of these people. And so I think that's the thing, it's an approach. Satriani's got an amazing ability to make music with, I don't know what he does, he's a virtuoso, but he doesn't get in the way of the tune he plays, he plays tunes. I think that's it, and I play tunes. So different sounds and slightly different approaches, but I certainly can't play a fraction of what any of those people can play. It's not about that. So I like the fact they said it.
Yeah, I can imagine it's a nice feeling, yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
It is, but it's also in the music, because of course you have a certain type of sound of music, and there's a guitar in there with the right kind of sound. We've got a couple that sound a bit Santana-y. But if you took the music away and just had the guitar left, it wouldn't sound like Santana at all.